What you're about to hear is the history of a jet so fast that not a single missile ever caught it. A jet born in total secrecy, tested in the desert, and flown into history. This is the untold mystery of the SR-71 Blackbird, the plane that outran the missile. In 1957, the United States discovered something that would change the shape of the Cold War forever. High above the Pacific Ocean, an American U-2 reconnaissance aircraft recorded a spike in radiation levels. Hours later, United States intelligence analysts confirmed the unthinkable. The Soviet Union had detonated a test version of the R-7 intercontinental ballistic missile. And in October 1957, when Sputnik launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome, the world realized the sky was no longer safe. Every American spy aircraft could now be detected and soon shot down. By May 1, 1960, that warning became reality. A surface-to-air missile struck the U-2 flown by Francis Gary Powers over Sverdlovsk. The pilot survived, and the international scandal that followed forced one truth into American military doctrine. The era of slow, high-flying reconnaissance aircraft was over. Deep inside Lockheed's legendary Skunk Works division in Burbank, California, a project was born whose purpose defied the limits of flight itself. Under the leadership of aerospace pioneer Clarence Kelly Johnson, engineers were ordered to create an aircraft invisible to radar, able to fly higher than any missile, and fast enough to outrun destruction. This initiative, first designated Project Archangel, led to dozens of conceptual shapes, each iteration designed to generate less radar reflection. The breakthrough came with a radical triangular form, optimized for unprecedented aerodynamics. This led to the creation of the A-12, the direct predecessor to the SR-71. Its first flight took place at the remote Area 51 facility in Groom Lake, Nevada, on April 26, 1962. The desert test data began revealing something extraordinary. The aircraft's titanium skin expanded so violently from friction at high speed that panels groaned, buckled, and realigned. The plane tore itself apart unless controlled with near-surgical precision. To keep the project secret, shipments of titanium, the majority sourced from the Soviet Union itself, were funneled through front companies. Soviet metal would ultimately be used to build the aircraft America intended to use to spy on them. Every component of the A-12 was designed with a single objective: survival at speeds exceeding Mach 3. This extreme requirement forced designers to abandon traditional aluminum and embrace titanium alloys. Despite the metal's notorious difficulty, tools shattered, welding failed, and entire airframes had to be re-engineered. But the A-12's performance proved a rule that would define the next aircraft in its lineage. The faster it flew, the safer it became. No missile on Earth could catch it. And yet, even as it succeeded, another, more ambitious machine was already taking shape. A jet with more range, more sensors, and more capabilities. A jet the world would come to know as the SR-71 Blackbird. The seeds of that transformation sat quietly in the data collected from Groom Lake's shimmering heat haze, and in the growing fear that a catastrophic global conflict would require eyes that no satellite could yet provide. Thus began the evolution of a machine built not simply to fly, but to survive at the edge of physics. In 1964, as Cold War tensions intensified following the Gulf of Tonkin incident, the United States prepared to unveil a weapon that was not a weapon at all, yet would intimidate adversaries more than many missiles. On July 25, 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson publicly announced the existence of a new reconnaissance aircraft, the SR-71. But what he did not reveal was that the aircraft had already begun secret testing months earlier in the scorching desert. The SR-71 made its official maiden flight on December 22, 1964, at Air Force Plant 42 in Palmdale, California, with Lockheed test pilot Bob Gilliland at the controls. Over the Mojave, it broke records before it had even finished its test cycle. The SR-71's design reads like science fiction even today. Its long, spear-like fuselage extended 107 feet. Its delta wings created lift at unimaginable velocities. Its J-58 engines, designed in collaboration with Pratt & Whitney, shifted from turbojet to a turboramjet-like mode as they approached hypersonic airflow. But the aircraft's true innovations were hidden in its skin. Engineers faced a problem. At Mach 3, surface temperatures exceeded 600 degrees Fahrenheit. Traditional fuel would ignite, so the Blackbird used a special compound called JP7, which was so stable it required a triethylborane ignition system that produced a green flash detectable from the ground. The aircraft's matte black paint absorbed heat, reducing thermal shock, and gave the jet its iconic name. The ridged chins along its fuselage were originally designed for stealth, but were later found to produce immense stability at extreme speeds. Yet the most astonishing fact was this. The SR-71 was designed to expand nearly 10 centimeters during flight. On the runway, it leaked fuel freely through its loosely fitted titanium panels. Only in the superheated conditions of Mach 3 flight did its skin seal tightly enough to become airtight. On January 7, 1966, the 4,200 Strategic Reconnaissance Wing at Beale Air Force Base received its first operational state, Route 71. By that time, satellites like Corona were producing detailed images of the Earth, but their fixed orbits meant hours or days between coverage. The Blackbird, by contrast, could be anywhere on the planet within minutes of takeoff. And so the aircraft was deployed globally. Okinawa, Mildenhall in the United Kingdom, Diego Garcia, and forward sites across the Pacific. The locations were chosen not for secrecy, but for proximity to geopolitical flashpoints where intelligence meant survival. Yet behind the public record, there were controversies. Some engineers and military analysts argued that the Blackbird was too expensive, too complex, and too difficult to maintain. Others argued that the real reason for its secrecy was not the missions it flew, but the technologies it tested. Technologies that would one day transform aviation. But those claims remain buried in classified archives, locked away behind sealed doors, leaving only speculation. What is certain is this. By the time the SR-71 reached full operations, the world had never seen anything like it. The SR-71 did not simply fly fast, it survived fast. Throughout its operational life, more than 4,000 missiles were fired at the Blackbird, according to declassified Air Force reports. Not a single one hit. One of the most documented engagements occurred on August 26, 1981, when an SR-71 flying near the Libyan coastline triggered a barrage of Soviet-built SA-5 Gammon missiles. These missiles had been designed to reach targets flying above 80,000 feet, the Blackbird's domain. But at the moment of detection, the SR-71 accelerated, climbing higher and faster. The missile radars lost lock. This was not luck. It was physics. A missile accelerates quickly at launch, but loses velocity as it climbs. The SR-71, by contrast, accelerated the longer it remained at altitude. If a missile launched behind the Blackbird failed to get close within seconds, it would fall further behind with every passing moment. In Vietnam, the SA-2 guideline missiles deployed by North Vietnam posed one of the greatest threats. These missiles operated on radar systems that were supposed to track anything above 60,000 feet. Yet, even when dozens were fired during reconnaissance runs over the Gulf of Tonkin and the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the aircraft simply outran them. Crew members later recounted, not as testimony, but as data logs, that shock waves formed around the aircraft during acceleration, creating a layer of turbulent air that degraded missile homing precision. The Soviets attempted countermeasures. In 1976, they upgraded radar installations along the Siberian border specifically to detect the Blackbird. Reports from the CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology indicated that the Soviet PVO, Air Defense Forces, often switched to predictive mathematics, estimating where the SR-71 would be instead of where it was. But even those calculations failed because no aircraft had ever demonstrated such consistent, sustained speed. Some historians argue that the Blackbird's greatest escape did not involve missiles at all, but geopolitics. During Operation Linebacker II in December 1972, the United States considered deploying the SR-71 for real-time targeting data over Hanoi. But internal conflicts between intelligence agencies prevented the approval. Had it been deployed, the SR-71 might have flown directly into the densest anti-aircraft network in human history. Other controversies center on the claim that the SR-71 occasionally exceeded Mach 3.3, though official documents deny this due to engine temperature limits. However, maintenance records show that some engines returned with heat signatures consistent with higher speeds. Whether this was accidental, intentional, or simply sensor error remains debated. Meanwhile, one of the most shocking episodes remains partially classified. A 1986 incident during a flight from Okinawa to the Korean Peninsula, where early warning radars detected multiple launches from North Korea. The aircraft reportedly executed a maneuver so fast that later analysts questioned whether the recorded acceleration was mechanically possible. To this day, fragments of that mission remain redacted. But what cannot be redacted is the law of motion the Blackbird followed. When danger approached, it did not turn. It did not hide. It simply went faster. On July 28, 1976, at 2 p.m. over Edwards Air Force Base, the SR-71 set two world records that remain unbroken. 1. Altitude in horizontal flight, 85,069 feet. 2. Speed over a 15/25 kilometer course, 2,193.167 miles per hour, Mach 3.3. No production aircraft has since come close. This dominance raises a question. Why did such a machine retire? The official reason given by the American government in 1990 was cost. Each flight required thousands of hours of maintenance. Titanium fatigue, engine overhaul demands, and the aging fleet were cited as reasons to end its service. But some analysts argued the opposite. The aircraft was too effective at gathering intelligence, and certain agencies preferred satellite programs they directly controlled. Its retirement was abrupt. In November 1989, the last SR-71 left Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, a place where it had become a fixture of Cold War reconnaissance for nearly 2 decades. In 1990, the remaining aircraft flew to museums. Then something unusual happened. In 1995, after pressure from Congress and the Air Force, the SR-71 program was reactivated. The aircraft returned to service, quietly but undeniably, flying missions using modernized sensor systems. This raised another controversy. If satellites were truly superior, why bring the Blackbird back? Some historians believe the answer lies in conflicts of the era. The 1990s saw a rising instability in the Balkans, tensions on the Korean Peninsula, and the emergence of new missile technologies that required rapid intelligence, faster than satellite revisit times. Another unexplained event occurred in 1997 when NASA's Dryden Flight Research Center conducted high-speed research with the SR-71, including experiments that hinted at hypersonic technology development. Some claim these tests supported classified propulsion projects such as Aurora, a rumored aircraft said to exceed Mach 5. To this day, the U.S. government denies Aurora's existence. Meanwhile, archaeological-style investigations into declassified documents uncovered surprising details. For instance, a 1974 maintenance report revealed that certain sections of the SR-71's titanium were showing microfracture patterns consistent with prolonged exposure to temperatures above the official operating threshold. This fueled theories that the aircraft was pushed beyond the speeds publicly acknowledged. Others point to radar logs from NATO installations that recorded unexplained high-altitude tracks during the late 1980s, tracks that were never identified, but matched the Blackbird's performance envelope. By 1998, however, the SR-71 was retired again. This time, the decision was final, or so it seemed. Today, 3 aircraft remain in government storage at Palmdale. Their status is classified, their condition unknown, their future undisclosed, and their legacy untouchable. The SR-71 ended official operations on October 9, 1999, when NASA flew the final sortie over the Pacific. As the aircraft returned to Edwards Air Force Base, the runway lights reflected off titanium panels that had carried it through history. But even in retirement, the Blackbird inspires mysteries that remain unresolved. One such puzzle revolves around the 1982 Arctic anomaly, a radar track recorded by NORAD that showed an aircraft traveling at a velocity higher than any known vehicle. The event lasted 9 minutes before the contact vanished. Some analysts claim it was a Blackbird test. Others argue it was something else entirely, an experimental craft whose existence has never been acknowledged. Another mystery is the classified reconnaissance mission rumored to have occurred in 1987, involving a Soviet satellite shootdown and a rapid deployment aircraft that allegedly photographed the launch debris within minutes. No aircraft except the SR-71 could have reached the coordinates in that time. Yet no official flight record exists. Even the Blackbird's design raises questions. The SR-71's nacelle geometry, once analyzed, appears optimized for speeds beyond Mach 4, higher than any documented mission. Why design for a speed the plane never used? Was it precaution or preparation? There is also the question of the titanium itself. Contracts uncovered in 2013 revealed that more titanium was purchased than accounted for in the official number of aircraft built. Where did the extra material go? Were additional prototypes constructed and hidden? Or did entirely new aircraft use those materials? But the greatest mystery may be that despite more advanced satellites, drones, and surveillance aircraft, the United States has never publicly revealed a successor that matches its speed. Many in the aviation world insist the Blackbird was not replaced because it could not be replaced. It was too fast, too high, too powerful. It was built for a moment in history that no longer exists, a moment when speed was the ultimate defense. But if speed still matters, if global tensions still rise, if technology still evolves behind classified doors, then perhaps somewhere in a desert hangar, behind blast-proof walls and silence, a new machine waits. A machine that looks back at the Blackbird not as a legend, but as a blueprint. For now, the final question remains unanswered. Was the SR-71 truly the last aircraft to outrun missiles, or merely the first?